Hey guys, welcome back to the All Sports Pass. My name's Eli. We got Max here, and we also have one of our new guys here, Connor Hahn. Connor will be actually across both West and North channels this year for doing some high school football. And also, if y'all notice most of the UT clips on the channel, that was actually because of Connor. Connor let us upload them, and he took them. And yeah, so and I'm and if y'all notice the hockey videos, that was Connor as well. And yeah, so very excited to get this season started. Um, and I'm very excited that that you're part of this channel now. And yeah, just thank you for joining me today.
You're welcome.
And and all right, and before we get in this video, you already know it's the verse of the predict. I'm sorry, it's the schedule predictions video for the Volunteers. For us Vols fans, we got a lot to talk about. But before we get into it, you already know we got to start with the verse of the day. And today's verse comes from Romans 6:23, and it says, "For the wages of sin is death, but the gift of God is eternal life in Christ Jesus our Lord." And before we get in this video, leave a like, subscribe for more college football content. Without further ado, let's begin. All right. So basically, for Tennessee, there's a bunch of questions this year. Because of course during the off season, Nico Iamaleava wanting $4 million just to play, um, and Josh Heupel straight up said, "Take a hike." Um, and we're gonna go in order on thoughts here. So here are my thoughts. Nico, yes, he was a good, in high school. Don't get me wrong, he was a 5-star, like probably the top quarterback in the country. But when it came time for him to come down and play, like, of course, he showed promise when he played that bowl game against Iowa. But then we have to realize that Iowa really didn't really even play anybody. And so that's really why he was like all that dominant. And then he ends up going in here um, in 2024. He has a few good games, but here's the key: the games that he was good in, of course, were Chattanooga, which was FCS, and you had you know, a couple group of 5 teams as well. Like, you had Kent State, and you also had UTEP, which was all blowout wins. And of course, he also did good against NC State. But then we take a look at NC State. NC State wasn't good. Ended up not being good that year. So, yeah, and when we found out this is that uh, Nico was not worth $4 million. And the reason why I say that is because we paid him $2 million to sit on the bench for a year, and he ended up, of course, wanting that $4 million when he ended up when we did our research here, and people saying, "Oh, Tennessee's not going to be good this year because they don't have Nico." Nico was the most unproductive quarterback under Heupel in first year. So that's the key. And I actually have the stats here. Let me just take a look here. Da da da. Yeah, and we compare. Of course, like everybody remembers Hendon Hooker. We take a look at his stats. Across his time at Tennessee. And of course, people saying like, and of course, everyone's saying like, 2022 is his best year. And we take a look here. The passing touchdowns, like, had 31 in 2021 and 27 in 2022. And guess how many interceptions he threw during that time? 5. And then, of course, he had 10 rushing touchdowns during his time at Tennessee. And then we take a look at, Joe Milton. And of course, I'm not going to count 2022 because, like, he while he did start the season for us, he got injured, and then we found our quarterback in Hooker. Um, so here's Milton's stats from his redshirt senior year: 20 touchdowns and 5 interceptions. And compare that to Nico's 19 touchdowns and 5 interceptions. But here's the thing: Nico overthrew everything, and that's what I consider unproductive. And really, the reason why we were 10-3 to begin with was because really Dylan Sampson was mostly carrying our team, in my opinion. All right, so whoever wants to just go next.
I gotta agree with a lot of what you said. I mean, honestly, being at I think every home game last season, excluding like 2 because I was sick. Even then, he never looked comfortable on the field.
Mhm.
And I don't really think it had to do with Tennessee's team as much as him, especially now. My mom does work at UT and knows a lot of people in the athletics department. So there already been, he actually had drama going back to the start of the fall, thinking that he was worth 4 million, which we ended up watching the season and seeing he wasn't worth that much. He he wasn't even really, to be honest, worth the 2 million that we were paying him, because he as Eli said, he just wasn't productive. There's a difference if he had a all-star season versus what he had. And honestly, it kind of reflected in a bit of the team dynamic where there was that drama that was underlaying. So, and honestly, there just wasn't much of a chemistry as it seemed, really, as that drama continued. And you see throughout the season, he didn't appear to get better, because originally at the start of the season, you would have thought, okay, well, maybe he's having some starting troubles. It's going to take a bit. But no, that just never got better. And that's really just my addition to that comment, because I agree with about everything Eli said.
All right. Max, you any thoughts? Sorry for the echo there.
Yeah. So pretty much my opinion on Nico is that he was not locked in this season. Like, this is a guy that showed up to practice in pajamas. Like how does he go bring to say he's with like $4 million if he's doing bad during practice? Like now, uh, now obviously if you would have won on us something in the playoffs, then he would have been worth $4 million. But instead, he got blown out by the same team that lost to a make a wish quarterback like weeks prior.
Mm-hmm. And it's also another thing I want to add before we get into these schedules. Like, we have the transfer portal as well, and basically this was a trade. Nico goes to UCLA, Joey Aguilar, former App State quarterback, goes to UCLA, and then when Nico transfers to UCLA, he goes to Tennessee. Aguilar goes to Tennessee, and there are people who, and I will reiterate this, there are people who actually like who say that Tennessee is not going to be good because Aguilar's not good. The thing about it is, is like Aguilar, we have to keep in mind he played at App State, and keep in mind App State, just like they're known for upsetting teams, of course. And I'm sorry, Max, for mentioning this again. Like back when they were FCS 07 against Michigan, and then you end up, they upset Texas A&M in 2022. But when I take a look at most of App State this year, like last season, that they weren't really all that good. And but however, Aguilar's stats actually are pretty good for App State. And I'm going to read them here. Excuse me. 2023 in 2 seasons at App State. In 2023, 293 completions on 460 attempts, which is a 63.7 completion percentage, and then 3,757 yards throwing, and then he had threw for 33 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, and ended up, in 2024 he had 218 completions on 390 attempts, which is a 55.9 completion percentage for 3,003 yards, threw for 23 touchdowns and 14 interceptions. And then we take a look at his rushing, basically just 3 rushing touchdowns 2023, 2 rushing touchdowns 2022. But from when I watched, those highlights against Clemson, it looked like, App State really, because, in college football, there's a tradition, you get one FCS game and then you play some group of 5 teams. App State, basically a group of 5 team. And it just looked like their offensive line just did not hold up. Like most of those passes looked rushed, in my opinion. And that's just what I think, But I think with Tennessee's, line, we get to see, and of course we do have a notable guy in the transfer portal for the OL, which is Sam Pendleton from Notre Dame. He I think he's going to be, able to reinforce the line really good. And that's, what I think. And another thing about it is that we take a look at, sorry, I lost my train of thought there. Um, but um, but I do think that Aguilar, if he has a good line, he can throw downfield, and that's what I think they need. Um, so any of y'all have thoughts on Aguilar?
Oh, I have to agree with you. I watched some of the same highlights, and honestly, as you said, you put him behind Tennessee's line, he's going to be able to actually work and do things. He struggled only at App State because, and honestly, saying he struggled isn't really. He didn't really struggle. He did as good as he could with what he had,
Mm-hmm.
and he honestly, it's. I actually have more confidence with him as quarterback than I had with Nico, especially as the season went on.
Mm-hmm. Um, any other thoughts? All right. And also, before we get into this, like there are some transfer portals. Like they did get 7 incoming transfer portals. You get cornerback Colton Hood from Colorado, and of course, I already mentioned him. Joey Aguilar from UCLA, Josh Shell from Grand Valley, and you get Sam Pendleton from Notre Dame, and you get Amari Jefferson, wide receiver from Alabama, and you get Star Thomas from Duke, and you get Wendell Moe Jr. from Arizona. And Wendell Moe also part of that offensive line. Like I think he can help reinforce that offensive line as well. And also from what I've heard, because surprisingly, I didn't really like as of this video, I didn't really find too much highlights on Aguilar really, surprisingly. But I guess I just wasn't looking hard enough or just yeah. But I think as long as Tennessee has a reinforced offensive line, and from what I heard, he apparently Aguilar fits the system more than Nico did. Um, so that's just from what I've heard and stuff. But we'll have to find out really when the season begins. And yeah, so whenever I think that of course, but I do think of course, getting Wendell Moe and Sam Pendleton, I do think that's going to help the offensive line strengthen up. So we'll have to see how they do come season. Oh, when the season comes, and yeah. All right. Any final thoughts before moving to the schedule?
Nope, I think you summed up my thoughts pretty well.
Mm-hmm. All right. You got anything, Max?
Nah.
All right. So we've been recording for 13 minutes. It looks like if y'all want to looks like we've held the suspense for so long. And yeah, so let's get into this season. What we're going to do different this season from last season, of course, it was just me doing it, is we're actually going to do this. Our prediction minimum and maximum. I'll start first. Minimum is I got them going 9-3, but my maximum is probably 10-2, but they can possibly go 11-1. That's just what I got. Now there are a few toss-up games in here that might do the schedule for me. I'm sorry, that might that are basically either win-loss. That kind of affects the numbers. So yeah.
Yeah, I got them also going to minimum of 9-3. However, I have them locked at 11-1. I really have confidence with Aguilar as the quarterback being able to do things not just at home but also on the road.
Exactly. All right. What you got, Max?
So my minimum gets 7-5, and then my maximum gets 10-2.
7-5. Man, you got a lot of explaining to do in this one.
That's just in case Joey Bial guy gets bad.
Oh yeah, that is true. Yeah. But I do think this though, Heupel's system seems to work under first year quarterbacks. Of course, we see Hendon Hooker. Hendon Hooker, did good in his first year, and then of course everyone remembers the 2022 season. and we end up seeing Joe Milton doing good 2023. But of course we went 9-4 that year. And then of course we talk brief about Nico. Nico wasn't really it was the running backs that really did it last year. So yeah. But however, for week 1, Syracuse, I'm gonna be honest, this is a neutral site, so it's really anybody's game in my opinion. But we take a look here. Their key returnees, wide receiver Treber Penna. I'm sorry, I don't know how to say his name. Yeah, Mark Petrie, who's a returnee, Demetrius Weatherspoon, Dan Villari, Daryl Gill Jr., Yamari Hatcher, Murad Watson, Kevin Jobity, Dion Tank Wilson, Derek McDonald, Davian Kerr, and Deuce Chestnut and Devin Grant. And I'll take on their stars returning. You have the 12 offensive stars returning, 4D. I'm sorry. The way this magazine is printed out, whenever I use it on last year's schedule predictions, it is so it's kind of confusing the way they read it. But anyway, 4 offensive stars returning and 7 defense stars and 1 specialist. And the thing about it is, we take a look at 2024 though. Syracuse goes 10-3 last year, and then they beat Miami. And there's also another thing though. The thing about Miami though is that we take a look at Miami. Miami just had a midseason collapse basically. I think they were once the last undefeated team in the nation, I believe. And then ended up and they end up getting 3 losses and ultimately missing the playoffs. And yeah, so basically Miami lost to Georgia Tech, then they lost to Syracuse. And so basically, but the thing about it is, we take a look at Syracuse is they lost to most of these wins from what I've seen, of course, with the exception of Holy Cross, which is FCS. Most of these wins though are really close, and that's thing. And also they were actually down to Miami before coming back to win. So really, what I think is this is that it could be a tough up here. It says here that an decisive bowl win victory over Washington State, which was a 52-35 win. But keep in mind, Washington State was part of the Pac-12, which is the Pac-2 right now, and they lost to Oregon State, who's their other Pac-12 member. Excuse me. And that's really, I think that of course. So I really think that of course, if Syracuse doesn't get it going, this is a win for Tennessee.
Yeah, I very much see this also as a win for Tennessee. Though I think, especially while Aguilar does settle into Tennessee, this game may be a bit closer for comfort than we're expecting, because once more, he just has to settle in. I think, honestly, with our schedule and who we play in the SEC, this is a decent game to start as almost a tune-up game for the season. Though I wouldn't be surprised if Syracuse push it to the last minute and made Tennessee have to fight for a win compared to what some other games later in the season with teams that are kind of similar to Syracuse on how they play. And honestly, I think even though it's a neutral site game, you're going to see a lot more Tennessee orange because it's in Atlanta compared to being between here and Syracuse, New York.
Yeah. And also, I just want to make this joke real quick. If you're going to Atlanta, I hope you're right. I hope you bring a lot of snacks with you on the road because traffic down there. Matter of fact, though, when I've been to Atlanta before, and we were down there. I kid you not, for I won't say maybe 1 to 2 hours just being in traffic. Yeah. So that's just a joke I want to make there. But so what are your thoughts, Max?
So I think Tennessee wins this game by 2 touchdowns, just because I don't think Syracuse offense gets ready for Tennessee's defense. Now, obviously last year they 10-3, but their quarterback was Kyle McCord, former Ohio State quarterback. So that helped them.
Mm-hmm. And, of course, you also have to try to find a quarterback too. So, so I would say, both these teams are in a quarterback situation. So, yeah. And all right, any thoughts on this one?
Yeah.
All right. The next one, we're playing ETSU for the home opener. And fun fact, I actually interviewed an ETSU commit, Eli Dorton, back during the high school season. So if you want to check out that video, I'll leave a link to the description down below. But ended up, but ETSU, it's a FCS team, and how we discuss the FCS. FCS teams mostly, unless you're North Dakota State, FCS teams mostly get blown out by FBS teams, but we have seen upsets happen, things like that. And the thing about it is, 2024 ETSU goes 7-5, and now they were able to keep up with North Dakota State, but however that last year, but that game was played at ETSU, so of course home field advantage. And you take a look at a bunch of other games, and it says the Buccaneers start the 2025 season with a new head coach in a new era, and with a mixed bag of new faces and many returns to the program, the ETSU coaching staff has been pleased with the direction so far. And they have their new offensive coordinator, Cam Aiken, who used to be at Ole Miss, and he has several quarterbacks to work with for offense. And they also have 4 returning starters, which we'll list here. Offensive stars, running back Devontae Houston, wide receiver Kareem Page, offensive guard Will McCraw, defensive line Brandon LeBlanc, linebacker Nick Hewenter, I don't know how to say his name, Ty Anderson, and Jimmy Beaudry, I'm sorry. So that's excuse me. So that's just what I think. But I think this, with this being an FCS game, and as long as the Vols do not do what they did in 2019 against Georgia State, this is a win for the Vols.
Yeah, I gotta have this as very much a locked win. And ETSU could start really good team, but it's just hard for an FCS team to beat an FBS team. I don't see, especially a team like ETSU, because they're not like a big team in the FCS like North Dakota State, really any of the Dakota schools in general. I don't know why they get so good talent up there. But I just really can't see us anything other than Tennessee win.
Exactly. What is causing that echo? I'm sorry, guys. All right. Anything you want to add?
Yeah, followed by 50.
I think that's going to happen.
Yeah.
All right. So now this game here is one that's going to be my first toss-up, and it's going to be Georgia. Now there are some advantages against playing Georgia here. As of course, we play them early, and of course, Georgia has a new QB, Gunnar Stockton. They have Nate Frazier, Dylan Bell, Ernest Green, Oscar Delp. Just naming the starters here, the key returnees. Lawson Lucky, Cash Jones, C.J. Allen, K.J. Bolden, Dalen Everett, Raylan Wilson, and then Christian Miller. And then you have Gabe Harris Jr., Daniel Harris, Brent Thorson, and these are the special teams, Peyton Woodring, and Bo Gardner. And about Georgia is this is for Georgia, if Georgia is gonna win this game, if Tennessee's gonna win this game, they're gonna have things go right, and they should, because they're an advantage is they're on their home field, and it's early in the season. we see what Georgia does a lot, really. Like it seems like they struggle mostly early season. So if you take advantage of the struggle, if Georgia does struggle, you take advantage of the struggle. Tennessee's going to win this game. And but I do think, of course, that I do think that Tennessee's defense, will also be put to the test as well here. And don't get me wrong, Tennessee's defense has been amazing this last season. And taking a look at what they got going on, with you lost some guys, but you do have some guys who are still back here. Of course, and one of them I want to mention is Jamad McCoy. Like Jamad is like an All-American, and he ends up, hold on, I'm on the wrong page here. Hold on. I just had it, man. Come on. Hey, man, it looks like even the magazine doesn't like me today. But Jamal McCoy, though, I'm like, he is a monster on defense, and he's a cornerback for us. But I do think, of course, that him coming back will help boost Tennessee. So yeah, but I do think that I'm going to give this one a toss up because really both these teams can play great, but it's whoever wants it more. So that's just what I'm going to go with.
Yeah, I'm also going to list this game as a toss-up. I really think this will probably be the test to see which direction Tennessee's going to go this season, because it really just depends on how we play. Because, as Eli said, Georgia struggles at the start. And honestly, being a big thing in sports in general is just being able to exploit where the other team's struggling. And considering they're also, Gunnar Stockton's a bit more of a he's kind of started a bit later last season and played a bit more. But, he's also still pretty much in the same room as being essentially a first-year starter, because a lot of the games that he started in last year were neutral site games. Unlike where he's going to be starting against Tennessee, it's going to be at home at a checkerboard game. So remember correctly, they announced that not too long ago that it's going to be a checkerboard game. And it's just going to be, Neyland's already considered one of the most hostile environments. You're already in that checkerboard, it's going to be so much more hostile. However, I still think it could be a toss-up. Georgia could still win, and Tennessee could still win. It just depends on how the game goes.
Yeah, and hey, I'm gonna be honest. Like the last time, and it's been a long time since Tennessee. Like actually 2015, the last time Tennessee beat Georgia in Neyland, and then the last time Tennessee beat Georgia, I think everybody knows what happened. The Hail Mary. Yeah. All right. So I think this is gonna be one of our games to watch right here. The Georgia game, and yeah. So anybody got anything they want to add?
Yeah, I think Georgia wins this, but could be like extremely close, like 28-31 close.
Yeah, but it also depends on and don't get me wrong, I really do think that, of course, that like when I say it's a toss up, because I'm gonna be honest, I don't know who's gonna win this one. I think that if Tennessee plays their cards right and they're able to stop Georgia, then they can beat Georgia. But however, if Georgia wins, it's not too much of a big deal. It's still early in the season, but you got a bit of work to do to make yourself up, to get yourself up high enough in the rankings. All right. So next game we're playing is their first Group of 5 game. It's against UAB, and they are a Group of 5 team. But however, here's saying their head coach Trent Dilfer is 7-17 all time with them. His third season. Here there are key returnees: QB Jalen Kitna, running back Isaiah Jacobs, wide receiver Corey Milner, offensive line Jandarius Morgan, safety Sared Bryant, place kicker Jonah Delange, punter Patrick Foley, and running back and kick returner Solomon BB. I don't know how to say his name. But yeah. So we take a look here. Is like is that UAB is in rebuild mode, and there's really not too much to say about it. They did go 3-9 last season, and they beat 2 teams in their conference. So they're 2-6 in their conference. So I personally think this. UAB is under rebuild. I got the Vols winning this one.
Yeah, there's not much for me to add. This one is just clearly going to be a Tennessee win. I mean, no offense to UAB. I know a lot of people would go there, so they'll probably see this, but they're just not going to be able to defeat Tennessee because the difference between the power levels that Tennessee has compared to UAB and just the way that UAB has been recently, it's a bit too much of a challenge for them to even seem to grasp at beating UT. Or Tennessee, because my fan of Texas fan will hear. No offense to you, Texas fans.
Yeah. And also, if y'all are wondering like why I took my mic out, I think I figured out the echo issue. I had the mic in the wrong area. Yeah. So sorry about that, guys, on the echo. But all right. Anybody got anything they want to add?
Yeah, I think this game will be a blowout. Again, Tennessee wins.
Mm-hmm. All right, and then the next game is their first road game, not counting a neutral site. It's at Mississippi State. And Mississippi State is coming off a 2-10 season. Their second season head coach, Jeff Lebby, is 2-10. But they went 0-8 in the SEC last year. And ended up, like when Tennessee, when they traveled to Tennessee last year, Tennessee blew them out. And I think this, I got Tennessee winning this one. Now they do have Blake Shapen returning. They have run back David Booth returning. Tight end Seydu. I'm sorry if I said it's some of these guys I can't pronounce, so I'm sorry if I say your name wrong. Seydu Traore, I think, and safety Isaac Smith, linebacker Nick Mitchell, and linebacker Zachary Tillman. I think that Mississippi State is still struggling, and if they don't figure out some and they don't rebuild, this should be an easy win for the Vols.
Yeah, I gotta agree. Considering just how bad lately Mississippi State's been, it should be an easy win. I mean, it's going to be an SEC game, so I mean, Arkansas last year was supposed to be an easy win for us, and we know how that went.
And we'll get into that actually in the next segment, but yeah.
But considering how just bad Mississippi State's been lately, I just don't really see Mississippi State coming out on top in this game. I see this as a Tennessee win.
That's what I got too. All right. Anybody want to add anything before we move on? All right. So next game, we already mentioned to Arkansas. Here's the thing about that game. And of course, we see like they upset Tennessee last year, 1914. But here's the key: that game was played at Arkansas, and it also kind of showed what kind of quarterback Nico was in that game. Because he literally pulled a Joe Milton, like didn't even throw it to the end zone. He literally just ran it. I'm like, dude, you got to throw it to the end zone because there's not enough time for you to run out of bounds. But yeah, I remember watching that game and I was just thinking, wow, now we're gonna have to get some stuff going. However, I don't think this is gonna. I think this might be a thing here. It's like Arkansas went 7-6 last year, including a bowl win. They have quarterback Taylon Green returning, and that is another thing that we want to add. Is like here's the key: Tennessee lost to Arkansas on the road. Tennessee is now hosting Arkansas. Now Arkansas seems to have Tennessee's number, but I think that as long as Tennessee, I think Tennessee can, I think Tennessee will and can win this game. And of course, with it being in Neyland, and you take a look at about how Tennessee's done, like rebuilding their defense, building their offense. I think Tennessee's going to be able to win this one, and that's just me. And I think about it is, so also a little story here. For all my Vols fans who were around in the '90s, unfortunately, before my time. So sorry if I made you feel old. But if y'all remember, when Arkansas came to Neyland in that game, they about won, but the unthinkable happened. The reason why Tennessee's national champions, Billy Ratliff, he pushed Brandon Bolesworth into their Arkansas QB. He fumbled the ball. Tennessee fell on and was able to drive down the field to win the game. Hopefully we won't have to have that happen again because I think for the Vols fans who are there, I think that about gave them a heart attack. So yeah, like the intensity of it. So that's the thing we're gonna have to keep an eye out for. But personally, I don't see Arkansas beating them in Neyland though. That's the thing. If they do, it's going to be a close win. That's just what I think. But I got Tennessee winning it.
Yeah, I have Tennessee winning it as well. And honestly, I think another thing that's going to factor big time into this game is the fans. Tennessee is going to want revenge for last year. That game just felt honestly humiliating to watch.
I know, and I was actually at a party for that.
Oh, I was in at Universal in the hotel room. We had just booked in, come up to watch that. I'm like, I can't even relax after a 10-hour drive.
Yeah.
But it's going to be a very much a revenge game for Tennessee. I don't see Arkansas winning. They might make it close, but it's just very much going to be a Tennessee win because it's going to become a revenge game.
Mm-hmm. All right. Before we move on to the next segment, I just want to make sure I'm just doing a little mic check here. Max, you can hear us, right?
Yeah.
All right. There anything you want to add?
Yeah, Tennessee bet they hang 100 on Bama.
Yeah. They better they need to win this game because here's the thing. If they end up losing to Georgia, then they lose to Arkansas, there could be a chance they miss the playoffs or even go unranked. So yeah. But we're gonna get to Bama here in a minute. And here's the thing. This is probably my favorite rivalry down the South. You know why? And now here's the thing. I'm straight edge, so I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't do drugs, and I don't vape. But I did say this though. Like them little like them prop cigars on Amazon that you can buy. And I'll say this. I say, hey, I'll buy some for the game, and I'll even decorate it personally. Heck, I'll even send you all some if y'all want. um, but the thing about it is, it's like we take a look at them, like Alabama. Remember last year, like everything looked like it was going good. Like they upset the number one team in the nation, Georgia at the time, and then Georgia nearly comes back like from down plus 30, and then Ryan Williams does that insane play to get them by Georgia. And then guess what happens the next week? And I actually recorded about this at the watch party that I was at for Tennessee and Arkansas. The people who actually hosted the party were so nice to let me record in their backyard. I ended up beating them, and I watched it. Alabama did not lead in that game, and that's just and that's the thing. Now with and then the next week Alabama struggles against South Carolina in Tuscaloosa. So yeah, and the thing about it is 2023. I'm not trying to sound excuse me. I'm not trying to sound salty or anything, but Tennessee would have beat them in 2023. But it looks like there was evidence of play in the refs there. That's just me. But here's the thing though, and I think Tennessee can win this game. but they got to do everything right. They got to not let the Alabama crowd get to them, and they need to probably get to the quarterback, which honestly it's likely going to be Ty Simpson. But they also got to try to shut down Ryan Williams too. But you also got Jeremy Bernard back, and you also got Jam Miller back. You got and you also got so many others back that I think could make this game a good game, and that's just what I think. And there's also another thing too. I also want to see Tennessee break that losing streak in Tuscaloosa. Guess when the last time they won was in Tuscaloosa? 2003, and that game went to 5 overtimes. Yeah, and so I want to see them break that losing streak in Tuscaloosa because hey, look, winning in Neyland's fun, but I want to win in Tuscaloosa. Like I think it would be amazing. So that's just what I think. But I'm gonna have to give this one a toss up because I think it's anybody's game. That's just what I think.
Yeah, I have to agree. It's gonna be a toss up, and it really goes back to how does Alabama carry on from last season? It was their worst since Nick Saban's first season. It just they lost to I think it was
Vanderbilt.
Vanderbilt, Tennessee, Oklahoma, and Michigan, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, and in Oklahoma, that game was a blowout. Like that wasn't even close.
Yeah.
And then Oklahoma, you say,
like
Oklahoma
24-3?
wasn't good, and that's the thing, you know.
If they carry the negative momentum through this season, then Alabama may just honestly not do so well this season. It could be worse. It really just depends because how they also play in Tuscaloosa and how the fans are there, because it both kind of go on each other. And that's what we've noticed in the past, that sometimes Tennessee can be really good and they'll go to they'll play away and the fans will just get to them and it'll kind of shut Tennessee down.
Yeah, I'm sorry, who was talking?
Oh, you're all right. You can keep going.
If you remember 2023, Tennessee actually was up, like I believe it was 20-3, and then I think from what I heard, because I wasn't able to watch that game. But from what I heard, it sounded like they were playing the refs.
Yeah.
But however, I do think this, and this might be a hot take, but I think this might be I know for a fact this was before Max's time watching football. Sorry, Max. Derek Dooley. I think DeBoer, like if you take a look, I think that unless DeBoer can really turn things around, I think he's kind of a revved up Derek Dooley.
Yeah.
Because
he gives off those vibes of Derek Dooley, like Alabama's version of it.
Yeah, like now I do think he's better than Dooley, but the fact is that Dooley won the games that Dooley lost the games that they should have won, and and here's the thing: Alabama should have beat Vanderbilt and they should have beat Oklahoma. And the only reason why I say not against us because of course it's in Neyland and Neyland's a tough place to win, but yeah, so if Bama's going to get and they also lost to Michigan as well. And keep in mind, this Michigan team is not the same Michigan team that won the national championship in 2023. They struggled. And then, of course, and there are people saying, oh, but Michigan beat Ohio State. The reason is because, if you take a look, Michigan's always had Ohio State's number. And that's the thing about it. All right, Max, you want to add anything before we move on?
Yeah, gotta have 10 see winning in English game. Only because gotta be getting Alabama for Talladega, so gotta just want 10 see the wins, so be Bama fans don't show up.
that might actually be the funniest reason why I've heard someone say that they want their rival to lose. Okay, I'll tell you what. If I clip that and put that on shorts, that better turn into a meme. All right. Okay. Now the next one. Excuse me. We're playing Kentucky away, and here's the thing. Kentucky's been struggling, and y'all want to know a funny comment that I found? Like, I'm not going to say the name or whatever, but last year I did the Kentucky schedule prediction video. Someone said this that you know nothing about Kentucky football. Find something else to make videos on or do your homework, and I bet he's kind of regrets saying that to me now because guess what? I had them going last year. I had them going 6-6, and they went 4-8. So for once, I think they're kind of glad that I think they kind of are just hoping that I didn't. I think they kind of regret it now because I actually gave them 2 more wins than they got. Yeah, but this is a rivalry game for Tennessee. And of course, for everyone who remembers, the Battle of the Barrel, this was actually for the older Tennessee fans. I'm not trying to call y'all old or anything. Not trying to call anybody old. And there are people who want it back. And I figured this. Like I started a new tradition. Last year we got ice cream and root beer. And I decided this that we do root beer floats on the game. And because we won that game, I actually found I didn't have a cup in the freezer, so I just drank a normal root beer to celebrate. And I'm like, okay, but I like this tradition, so I'll keep it for myself. So yeah. But I do think this Kentucky, they have not been good these last seasons. Like this is Mark Stoops' 13th season. Here's his record: 67-73. And last year Kentucky, like I said, they went 4-8, and then they went 1-7 in the SEC. And they also then get blown out by Louisville for the first time in I want to say 8 years, because the last time that Kentucky had lost Louisville was when they had Lamar Jackson. And yeah. And now, and it says here that that pressure is on Mark Stoops to turn the program in the right direction. The Vols must be prepared to face a real big rebuilding SEC opponent. Hard to know what Kentucky can do. The thing about it is, it's at home, but I don't think it's any trouble, because the reason why I say that is because we take a look at Tennessee, and Tennessee, they've always had Kentucky's number. And now it seems to be a bit of a closer game up in Lexington, but I think Tennessee will be able to get by with the win. And I do think, of course, that of course, when we take a look, like I say, it does a little bit closer in Lexington, but I think Tennessee just always have Kentucky's number. They're going to win this game, and also because I believe with Kentucky rebuilding, that's another thing. So I'm going to give this one to the Vols.
Yeah, I have to agree. This is going to be a Tennessee win at Kentucky, even if it's close. Stoops is going to be under a lot of pressure, but I just honestly don't see, even under just all the pressure, that Stoops would be able to easily win against Tennessee, or really just even come close to it, even if the scoreline looks that way. It's just he's going to probably, especially if he is truly under as much pressure as they say he is, he might do better against lower level SEC opponents, but not higher level opponents like Tennessee. It's just, this is going to be a Tennessee win.
Yeah. What do you think, Max?
Yeah, I think Tennessee wins this game.
Yeah. All right, and then the next one, and I'm going to be honest, from what I heard, this is probably going to be one of my favorite games of the season. From what I heard, after the Oklahoma game last year in Norman, the Oklahoma fans were such a class act, from what I heard. And hey, I'm going to be honest, if I ever go to an Oklahoma game, I honestly think Oklahoma, from what I heard, Oklahoma fans are so nice. So yeah, and honestly, I think we also need that because hey, in ASP we support sportsmanship. So yeah, but however, Tennessee did beat Oklahoma last year, and it was a close game. They only won 25-15. But however, now they're going to have to do it now Oklahoma, like they go 6-7. They lost to Navy 21-20 in the Armed Forces Bowl, but now they're gonna have to play this season without Jackson Arnold, as Jackson Arnold transferred to Auburn. So I think Oklahoma's gonna have some rebuilding to do. Excuse me. They're gonna have some rebuilding to do, but it depends on how Oklahoma does. And it's gonna be the first time in a while since Oklahoma's played in Neyland. So it's gonna be interesting to see. But I honestly think that like Oklahoma's defense, it'll be interesting to see how they adapt as well. So I think that of course, this could be a good game. So, but I still think I'm going to have Tennessee winning this one.
Yeah, I'm going to have Tennessee winning this one. I mean, just everything that you said, it's been, I think, 8 years since Oklahoma last played here, which I only remember because I got stuck in 2 hours of traffic trying to get out of Knoxville.
Dang, so I guess Knoxville was in Atlanta wannabe that day.
Yeah, everyone had stayed.
Actually, I think it was 10 years ago. Actually, 2015.
Oh yeah, it was like 10 years ago.
Yeah, man, time really does fly, man.
Yeah.
But however, for Tennessee, I think that of course, the time that they want to fly is when they want the time to fly when they're ahead. So that's just what I think. But I do think this that Tennessee should be able to walk out of Neyland with this win. But we don't know what kind of we do not know what kind of team Oklahoma is going to bring. So that's the thing.
Yeah.
And if it's the team we saw last year, give me Tennessee all day. So yeah. All right. Anybody want to add anything? And also the reason why I ask is just to make sure sorry guys, if y'all notice just before y'all go into the comments and say y'all want to add anything or anything, it's just so I know we're all on track and it's also kind of a mic check type deal because like I say I have been having issues with the echoing and stuff. So yeah, just want to say that just put that out there. So anybody want to add anything?
Yeah, I think she wins by 3 touchdowns.
Mm-hmm. That's what I think as well.
Yeah.
And all right, so the next game we have is New Mexico State. And this is a group of 5 team. And they have a second-year head coach in Tony Sanchez. He's 3-9. They went 3-9 last season, and their most notable returning player is running back Seth McGowan. And I will say this, that there's really not too much to say about this game, other than the fact that that it's a group of 5 team, and Tennessee is likely going to win this game. So, yeah, so there's really not too much to say about it.
Yeah, this is very much going to be a solid Tennessee win because honestly, New Mexico State never has really been a good program, and they're kind of in the process of trying to rebuild the best they can.
Yeah. All right. Go ahead. If Max, you say something.
Yeah. So I think this game will be kind of close, just because I think this will be the game where can see rest with starters go bring get into next week, because since they play Florida, so yeah, I think she wins by 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, that's what I think as well. Now I do think, of course, knowing Tennessee, that they will probably play their starters until they get to a certain point, and then when the game's in hand, they'll put in the secondary. But yeah. All right, next game we got is Florida, and also a little funny story for you guys. Basically, there's my college classmate. They're my first semester. Excuse me. He was a Florida fan. He said, "You better not show up to class when we beat Tennessee." And guess what happens? Tennessee beats Florida. You know what I did? And he comes into class like, "Oh no!" I straight up went like this to him. I went. That's literally what I did, and I said, "Hey, Now here's that. I know that probably might be the most unsportsmanlike thing that I've done, but I had to do it because dude was talking smack about Tennessee about this game. So that's what I had to do there. But however, I do think this though, like this game might be a toss up for me because like even if the reason why I say this is because look where the game's played. It's in Gainesville, and Tennessee has struggled in Gainesville. The last time they won there was guess when? 2003 on a 24-10 win. And and they were doing pretty good in 2023, but then some fell apart and like some just didn't ever, some didn't ever just, really go off, that game. And they got upset that game. And now, of course, I was up in Bristol watching the NASCAR race, so I wasn't able to watch it. But I will say that that for Tennessee to win in Gainesville, they're going to have to basically have everything go right. And regardless of like what record they're at this season, at this point in the season, they're going to have to play their best. Even if they're heck, they can be ranked number 1, they're still going to have to play their best against Florida and Gainesville, just because, like I said, they've not won in Gainesville since 2003, and Tennessee tends to struggle on the road. So now they go to Gainesville, they're going to the Swamp, but I'm going to give this a toss-up because we don't know what kind of team Florida's going to bring. But they do have DJ Lagway, key returnee. And, yeah, so that's just what I think. So we also have running back Jaden Ball returning, running back Jacoby Jackson. And you also got, so many more coming back. Florida went 8-5 last year. They beat Tulane 33-8 in the Gasparilla Bowl. So that could be also another thing, but we don't know what kind of team Florida's going to bring.
Yeah, honestly, I could, as easily as I could see Tennessee potentially sneaking out with a win, I could honestly see them losing. It's very much going to be a toss-up because the Swamp is very aggressive. I got to give credit to Florida fans. They can get, especially against teams like Tennessee, they could be like 0-10 going in. And they'll just play so aggressively, and they'll be so aggressive against Tennessee. As one of my friends who's a Florida fan explained, they play it like it's almost the Super Bowl. So this is going to potentially be one of the largest games of the season for Tennessee.
Yeah,
and
also,
it's just going to be.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt, but NFL, please don't copyright us for saying that. Sorry, I just had to throw that in there. Continue on.
Now I just have my mind thinking about how the NFL just copyrights people for speaking now. But Florida, honestly, it's just going to be competitive. There is nothing outside of that other than it's going to be very competitive. And I think this will probably be one of the best games of the season.
Yeah, but we also have to see, and there's also an outlook here. Game 11 takes the Vols to the Swamp in Gainesville. Playing the Gators in the Swamp is not fair because they somehow find a way to win there, even if they don't have the best team. This year, they'll have the potential to have a good team, so maybe the Vols will have a better chance to win. So basically, I think the outlook is, what kind of team is Florida bringing? Like, are they bringing the team from last year, basically, or are they bringing a new, better team from this year, especially in Gainesville? And when you're on the other team's turf, it's a whole different ball game. So that's the thing. All right, Max, you want to add anything?
Yeah. So I have Florida beating Tennessee this year just because I think DJ Lagway will bring to be a great quarterback this year. So I think he'll just ball out.
Mm-hmm. But remember when we played them in Neyland last year, it was an overtime win. Now we beat them, but Florida just seems to always show up when they play Tennessee. If I'm Tennessee, like when you go into the your bye weeks and stuff, I'm looking for film on Florida. Like I'm watching Florida, see if there's anything they can do to them, get by. And I'm saying this, like, I'm not saying sign steal because that's cheating. And you can also get in trouble for it. Just ask Michigan. Sorry, I had to throw that at you, Max, because I know you're a Michigan fan. Yeah. So that's just what I think. But anyway, like this can be a very competitive game. So that's the thing about it. So I'm gonna give this a toss up because I honestly think that this could be head to head once they come down to up until they get to the 0-0 mark. All right. And then we're gonna go to our last game of the season. And that's Vanderbilt. And one of their notable returners is Diego Pavia. And I'm gonna be honest, like last year, I think I had them going like 3-9 or something. I was proved wrong in the Virginia Tech game. And then they end up, their very first game of the season. And I was also proven wrong when they beat Alabama. And then they end up beating Kentucky, which we end up finding out Kentucky ended up not being too good. And then, they end up, going 7-6. They beat Georgia Tech. Come on, the Georgia Tech that upset Miami, 35-27 in the Birmingham Bowl. And then Vanderbilt did seem to give us a run for their money last year. Because Connor, were you at that game?
No, I wasn't at that game. I was in Universal again. my mom.
Oh no! It was why do I keep on forgetting we played Vanderbilt away last year? Why do I keep on forgetting that?
I mean, there's almost always more orange at Vanderbilt.
Exactly. But when we see that for Vanderbilt, like Vanderbilt actually scored off the kickoff, and I think they were up 17-0 at one point, and then Tennessee comes back to win. But I think this, like, up in Neyland is, it's going to be different because Vanderbilt hasn't won in Neyland in a while. And I thought I had it pulled up, but I did not. Hold on a second. I need to take a look real quick. Last time Vanderbilt won in Neyland was in 2017. And that was a 42-24 win. Of course, that was I think that was after Butch Jones was fired, and then they had Brady Hoke as the coach. And then Tennessee is now currently on a -2 vacated wins. They have a 6-game winning streak against them. But however, you can count 4 if you count the 2019-2020 game due to the vacated wins, because of Coach Pruitt. So that's the thing about it. But I think that Tennessee, like, come on, guess how many they lead the series 79-32 and 5 ties. And now ties aren't possible in college football anymore. But here's the thing. I think that that Tennessee always having Vanderbilt's number, especially with it being in Neyland, give this one to Tennessee.
Yeah, I gotta agree, especially considering it's at Tennessee. I can't remember which Vanderbilt player said it, but they're like, we're gonna run Tennessee. Slow your roll, bud. Y'all may play more competitive now, but you're not going to own Tennessee, especially playing at Tennessee.
Exactly.
Because it's also a big rivalry game. It's not Sewanee, because another fun tidbit, Vanderbilt and Sewanee used to be rivals. I learned that because I have a friend that goes to Sewanee.
Yeah. Well, the thing about Sewanee actually used to be in the SEC. They were a founding member. Yeah. And also, I just realized that you know how I've been talking about the offensive line. I completely forgot to mention our Tennessee's newest 5-star recruit, David Sanders. I think it'll be interesting to see what he brings to the line. But of course, I think of course Tennessee's offensive line and the way the defense has been. I think Tennessee's going to be able to beat Vanderbilt. And I think that this is going to be a win for them. So that's just what I think. All right. Anything to add, Max?
Oh yeah, I think 10 she wins. Could be kind of close, probably by like 14 points, because Diego goes like really good. But definitely can see football get be better with him.
Mm-hmm. All right. So that should end it. Unless we want to, I will run down Tennessee's return to starters as some reason we focused on the transfer portal mostly. Some Tennessee stars that I want to mention. Miles Kitselman's back. Lance Hurd is back. Got Dominic Bailey on defense. Bryson Easton on defense. Arion Carter. Jeremiah T-Lander. Jamal McCoy, we already talked about him. Ricky Gibson III on return time. And yeah, so basically you also have Boo Carter as well. So you
do want to give a bit of insight on that. He may
let's
not play because of academics. My mom, one of her friends, teaches Boo Carter.
Mm-hmm.
Last update that I have, which this was a few months ago, it probably changed, but he wasn't doing so well academically.
Yeah, but here's the thing. I think I'll find a way. When you combine sports and athletics, of course, and hey, I'll even say this: like Boo graduated the same year as me and Connor, from high school, and I can understand. He probably just had a tough semester, which it's normal among college freshmen. Sometimes you just got to work and work and work until you get back to the level you're at. Like that it's normal. I even had a rough semester. So
I'm pretty sure he did.
Yeah.
But because Thornton will do essentially they really do a good job with the athletes and trying to get them back to being better.
Mm-hmm. And that's the thing about it is, it's like, with that, and also, believe it or not, the video I have of him hitting the Mississippi State quarterbacks actually nearly up to 10,000 views. I'm also shocked to still getting views after all this time. Booz is really good at what they do, and is really good on the defensive side, and I think he's a big asset to the Vols team.
Yeah.
All right. And also some notable rivalries that I want to add. I'm excited to see the Red River rivalry again. I want to see Texas. I'm excited to watch Texas, Oklahoma. I'm excited for the Lone Star Showdown again, Texas A&M, and things like that. But I think this. I already mentioned it. Like for Tennessee, my rivalries, of course, my favorite rivalries, the Tennessee rivalries, like no doubt. But the thing about it is, when we take a look at Texas and Texas A&M, like it's always close regardless where you play it at. You take a look at rival rivalry, it's a neutral site, so it's really who wants it more. But for Tennessee, they basically don't play the rivals at a neutral site, and basically Tennessee's gonna have to probably play like they did 2022 against LSU when they went down to Death Valley and blew out LSU. They have to have everything go right, and that's the thing. And I only wanted to bring that up, like the Texas, Oklahoma, and Texas A&M, because it depends on what kind of team you're getting and how close they keep it. So that's really it. All right, I'm done with thoughts. Anybody else got anything?
You had the same exact thoughts I was having.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I got nothing.
And all right, that's going to end the video, guys. Thanks for watching. Remember to like, subscribe for more college football content, and leave your predictions down in the comments down below. I'll try my best to respond to each and every one of y'all. But that being said, peace out, God bless, and have a good day or night.